Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Team Amasian Show, 2 Chicks, 1 Throne. As you can see, it's 1 chick, 1 throne. My name is Ann Campia, and joining me as our special guest is John Campia.
The Throne.
The Throne. Unfortunately, Corey Takei cannot be here to review this week's episode of Game of Thrones, Season 6, Episode 9, appropriately titled Battle of the Bastards. So John is joining us in Corey's place. Thank you.
I always take Corey's place. I don't know what that means.
I don't either. Anyhow, we are here to talk about the penultimate episode of Season 6. Obviously, for those of us that follow Game of Thrones religiously, we know that the second to the last episode is always the episode where shit goes down. And absolutely did shit go down in this week's episode. Battle of the Bastards, we see 2 storylines kind of come to head here. Well, not come to head, but 2 storylines that happen. And I'm actually really happy that they only spent their time on 2 storylines, whereas sometimes they spend it on multiple storylines in 1 episode. But
sometimes they'll spend it on multiple storylines, but just little tiny pieces of multiple storylines. This was like 2 that they brought to a big, huge, epic conclusions of 2. It was really something to see.
Exactly. And we've got Daenerys' story come through fruition when we have Jon Snow versus the bastard himself, Ramsay Bolton. So 2 things that we've been waiting for all season. John, what did you think of tonight's episode?
I can honestly say this was my favorite episode of Game of Thrones ever. I absolutely loved it. Everything, the writing was fantastic. The endings, these 2 giant endings, both in Meereen and in
Winterfell.
Winterfell, thank you. I was going to say the North. And in Winterfell. Such satisfying conclusions for both. Both beautifully shot, had huge, epic moments. One was a little bit more predictable. I mean, the Battle of Winterfell, we were all sitting around, it's like, okay, guys, any minute, Littlefinger and his army are going to show up.
Sure.
So that one was a little predictable, but even though you saw it coming, it looked amazing when it actually happened. And then, and so much tragedy happened with Rickon dying, the giant dying.
I know.
Like all these huge things, and then a really satisfying death for Ramsay, which everybody in the room that we were in jumped up and cheered. Audibly cheered when that happened. It reminded me a lot of when, the king of Joffrey died. Because then you saw memes and people talking all over the internet. This was even bigger.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was just, and then the dragons destroying the ships and the masters being defeated. And it's just so much good stuff.
I don't even know where to go from there. I think you covered much of it, but I like that you brought up that the episode was beautifully shot.
Yeah, gorgeous cinematography.
It was just infinitely better than any episode that we've seen. I have to agree with you. I think this is my favorite episode of Game of Thrones ever. I think it definitely did a fan service by having Ramsay Bolton die at the hands of Sansa Stark at the end.
Well, and more specifically, the hands of his own damn dogs.
His own hounds.
That he fed his baby brother to.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So it was
this dude had to die.
It was, if you had written it any different, I don't know, but this was the perfect way to end this character that we all have been hating for several seasons.
Didn't it feel like every episode of Game of Thrones was like giving you one more reason to hate Ramsay?
Oh, of course.
And then the next episode they'd go do even something more despicable. And the next one even more despicable.
And the thing is you thought Joffrey was the worst piece of shit ever. And then they just somehow were able to build Ramsay up to being an even worse human being than Joffrey was.
And the funny thing is, I haven't read the books, and I don't intend to read the books. But the friends I have who read the books saying, yeah, Joffrey was nothing compared to what his brother turns out to be.
So that's what I've been hearing.
I don't know if that's true or not. I have not read the books, but I just keep hearing that this little brother of his, who seemed to start off kind of sweet, apparently is going to go dark side pretty fast. I don't know how long that takes. We're just going to have to wait and see, I suppose.
Oh, definitely. So, I mean, I just want to go back to Meereen. I thought it was amazing how everybody worked together. I love that Daenerys and Tyrion had their moment. I love that Daenerys, Tyrion, and the Greyjoys finally had a scene together after 6 seasons. Those characters finally get to meet, and they formed that alliance. So I think that Daenerys is somebody that we should be scared of at this point in terms of her stake at the throne.
Well, I mean, look at this now. She's got the Unsullied.
Yes.
She's got the Dothraki. She's got the dragons.
Yes.
She now has half the Ironborn fleet.
Yes.
With Rieken's sister in tow. I mean, she is positioning for a serious play. They've been building this up since season 1. That her claim to the throne. it's imminent now. Now it's imminent.
Yes.
It's coming.
Yes.
And at some point, both she, the Lannisters, everybody, there's this whole section of the Game of Thrones story that has not been dealing with the Walkers problem. They have not been dealing with the issue of the Night King. And that is going to become the most apocalyptic event in winter. This is what's coming.
Yes.
And that's what, I mean, I really believe that's what the whole story meant right from the beginning of the first season. Winter is coming. These guys are the winter, and they're coming. And at some point, I think Jon Snow is going to have to meet Khaleesi at some point and bring her into this battle at some point. So just so much great stuff happened this episode. The conversation between Daenerys and Yara was fantastic. One of the best conversations of the season. Actually, there were about 3 amazing conversations between Davros and the Wyndham hotel wizard.
Davos and Turman.
Turman. That was a great conversation.
Yes.
The conversation between Tyrion and the Masters was awesome. That was Tyrion at his best. When he's most terrifying is when he's calm and civil. That's when he's scary. It's just an epic episode. I just know I'm going to feel let down by the season finale, because where do you go from there? I got a feeling the season finale next week is going to be all about just setting up,
which it normally is,
season 7, which it normally is, and that's totally fair. But I think there's going to be a lot of setup for next season.
But I have to agree. I think you're absolutely right. And even as a viewer, you forget that there's this kind of magical, what would you call it? Supernatural side that we haven't even really come to head with. And the characters in the show haven't really had to deal with, except for, like you said, Jon Snow. So the fact that the Night Walkers are still around, Night Walkers, White Walkers?
White Walkers.
White Walkers. There's still the Lord of Light. Who knows if that, will come to fruition.
What the hell's that all about?
There's just a lot of these things that we haven't even touched upon. So you're seeing the conflict
guy,
between the houses.
Faceless God and his guy.
So you're right. I really think in at least the last season, or at least the final season, which I think there's 2 seasons left, right? So in the final season, we're definitely going to see that happen. And like you said, the conversations were brilliant in this episode. I think they were beautifully acted in. And I think there was one more conversation that I wanted to bring up, and I can't remember what it was now, but Sansa and Jon Snow.
Yes.
I wanted to touch on that before, is that there's an interesting... there's a respect between them, obviously being siblings, but then there's this interesting conflict at the same time, because you have this conversation with Sansa and Jon where clearly you find out later that she kind of knows a little more than she's leading on to in this conversation with Jon, when she's telling him, don't do what Ramsay wants you to do the opposite of it. And then you come to find later on that she's kind of at least had some inkling that Baelish was going to come and help.
I know, which there has to be an accounting for that. Probably in the next episode, that Jon has to confront her. It's like, you know what? Had you let me in on the fact that another army was coming, we would have waited. And we probably would have saved 1,000, 1,500 of our soldiers' lives at that point. There was a dishonesty there. Now, I understand she probably didn't know for sure whether Baelish was coming. She probably didn't know for sure that Littlefinger was going to bring his army over the horizon. Maybe she didn't know for sure. But the very fact that she had sent the message to him, calling for aid, not letting Jon know about it, just saying, maybe you should wait. And he was like begging her for a reason. Why wait? What's there to wait for? Tell him. And the fact that she didn't, I think, I don't know what advantage there was for that.
No.
So he's got to hold her accountable. There's got to be some kind of confrontation between him and Sansa in the next episode to say, what the hell?
Agreed, especially when we've lost so many lives because of her kind of withdrawing or not withholding that information from him. So I definitely think that's going to happen. Any predictions for the finale in terms of what they're setting up?
I think we're going to see. That conversation between Jon and Sansa. Who knows for sure whether that's going to happen or not. I also believe you're going to hear a conversation amongst Jon Snow and Sansa about Daenerys, and at some point they're going to have to reach out to her. Okay. And because she's now becoming the main player on the stage. So that's got to come to fruition. And look, at some point, there's a legit heir to the throne still floating around out there, right? The legitimate son of Robert is still out there. So I just wonder, they've got to bring that back into the conversation at some point. So I'm going to go, that's my big dark horse prediction for the finale, is that he is going to be mentioned again in the season finale. Probably
has to be.
That's just a wild guess on my
Yes.
part. I have no idea, but that's going to be my dark horse guess. What about you?
I'm thinking we'll at least get a glimpse into how Arya is going to find her way back home.
Sure, yeah.
I think we will finally see Cersei's trial come to head.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Because it's been an episode since Tommen said
Well,
you're
she's
not
not-
going to get to have to battle in combat. You're
I
gonna
don't
have to
believe
go to
for a
trial.
second she's sticking around for that trial. She's going to get out of Dodge.
Yeah, I guess we'll
Yeah.
see. And then I also think that, Marjorie's brother also is going to
They gotta bring that up.
Yeah, they're going to have to wrap that one
And
up as well.
it's not just me, right? Like in the other episode, Marjorie is clearly faking this.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
no,
oh,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Every
Marjorie's
episode,
clearly faking this.
I am loving Marjorie because she is playing the game at her absolute best. And at some point, and I'm hoping it's in the finale, she's going to reveal what her huge plans were for doing this.
Spring her trap.
Yes, that.
Spring the trap.
And then we're going to find out that maybe she's even more manipulative.
Manipulative?
Yes, person, and even more, I guess, genius than Cersei in her plans
We'll
to take
see.
over. And I'm just excited to see what happens with Marjorie, because I think she's a strong character and we haven't
Yeah.
even seen the best of her yet.
Not yet.
So I think that will do it for our predictions. You guys, let us know what you thought of episode 9, Battle of the Bastards. Are you happy that Ramsay is dead? Because I'm sure
Of course you're happy he's
99.9% of us are. If you're the 0.1%, let us know that too. Make sure you leave us a comment, give us a like, share the video as well. Thank you, John, for joining me in Corey's Place.
And you guys can find me on Facebook and on Twitter. Simply follow me at John Campia. And make sure you sign up for my new show, Film HQ, on the new Comic-Con network. Just go to www.comic-conhq.com and sign up for your free trial today.
And you guys can follow me at Ann Campia on Twitter as well as Instagram. And follow Kaori at Kaorius as well on Instagram and Twitter. And you can follow the both of us at Team Amasian. Make sure you subscribe to our channel as well. We will be back to review the season finale of Season 6 Game of Thrones here on Two Chicks, One Throne next week. And until then, you guys, bye.